Everyone, hello, hello, hello. I'll move up there. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. So, look, this is what Ray. If you want to come on up here with me, this is our plan of attack. Nobody's listening. I'd like you all to
Bow your heads in prayer,
eat
please.
some of the. I'd like everybody to please eat some pastries, have some coffee, and okay. And we're just going to have a brief little work session here to give Mr. Sandelli some ideas about the major issues facing our town. And then afterwards, we'll hopefully wrap that up in the next 45 minutes or so. Then we'll give you another shot at him for another little bit. And then Mr. Sandelli will be taking a ride down the boulevard with us. And hopefully we'll wrap his time up between 11 and 11:30 because he's got many other pressing engagements. But Amy, are we recording now? Okay, so I'm just going to call this meeting to order at 9:13 a.m. All council members are present, and the Honorable Commissioner Ray Sandelli is also present here at the dais with us. And we're very happy to have you here this morning. Ray, would you like to say a word or two?
Thank you.
Okay.
and I mean that in a couple different ways. Thank you for coming out this morning. There's no better way for me to learn about the community, learn about what we're trying to do than to come out and meet the people, because that's who we are. We're all, all linked together. I also want to thank the mayor. This whole thing happened very quickly, as most of you may know. I always refer to it as the Fast and Furious, not the movie, just the way I got into this thing. But the mayor and the rest of the mayors were kind enough to meet with me at an Italian restaurant for lunch.
The food was good, too.
It was, and just to give me some perspective on the political arena, so to speak, and also to share some of their experiences. So it was very much appreciated. And so I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for this. My time is your time, so I'm here to, from a quick background, I was born and raised in New Jersey, Italian family. Very close. Lived in a duplex. My grandparents lived in the other house. My father was a bricklayer, and his father was a bricklayer, so they were in the trades. And I used to watch my dad go build buildings. I thought that was pretty cool. The only thing I ever wanted to do growing up was fly, and I worked at an airport. I washed airplanes. I pumped gas, built models, and when I went to college, I started taking flying lessons. I think my father would have been much more accommodating if I was trying to pay for my education, but I was trying to fly because the only thing I wanted to do. Did that, and 2 weeks after I graduated, I was in Pensacola, Florida, have the Navy teach me how to fly. And it was a great experience. I spent 9 years in the military. It was an honor to wear the uniform of the country and make great friends that I still have today. We came home from a 7-month deployment, and we were gone. The kids were running down. I was a bachelor. A little kid ran up to me, he grabbed me by the leg, and he said, "Are you my dad?" I said, "No."
Oh, Ray.
But I realized that day that as much as I wanted to do this, that was not the lifestyle that I wanted. My father worked hard, but at night we would sit down and talk after dinner, and that was a great thing. And I wanted that more so than this passion I had been pursuing. So that's when I decided to get out. I got out and I flew for some people in Pensacola. Flew a trip to Bremerton, Washington, ran into an ex-Marine Corps pilot, and he was in commercial real estate. And it was like, what's that? I was probably going to go to the airlines. Ended up being a 40-year career. I started in Seattle on the sales side, so I saw the West Coast grow, especially at Port City. Moved to the management side in Cincinnati, same company, and so I got to see the Midwest and how the Midwest operated and how they marketed themselves. But I always wanted to get back to Florida. I was an ensign in the Navy and had a Corvette, nice, beautiful Gulf of Mexico, and I thought I'm going to get back here someday. So it was a rather circuitous route, but I ended up coming back. Came back to Tampa, ran the Tampa office for CBRE, and then they asked me to run the state. So I had 6 offices and a whole lot of people, and very diverse. And so I had a chance to see each of the major markets in Florida, and it taught me a lot about the economic platform that's our state. And so I guess I was like 65, and I thought I was supposed to retire, so I did, and got bored in about 6 weeks. And so we were up in New Jersey. We had a little place up there at the beach, and was asked to come down here and work with CRE consultants to help them. They were going through a transition. So I came down, and I said, I'll come down for a year, and that was 7 years ago. Like most of us, you get here and you like it. And so life has been enjoyable. I'm married. We had our 36th wedding anniversary on September 11th. And so she's been a very patient woman. We have 3 kids. The oldest is married, lives in Atlanta. My son lives in Colorado. He does infrastructure work. They don't do any vertical work. And my youngest is a marine biologist, and she lives in Tampa. So I have my own in-house water consultant. And we talk a lot about that. And my brother was also in the Pentagon on 9/11. He was one of 8 people in a room of 40 that got out. And so we were blessed. So September 11th is a very interesting day in our lives as a family. So anyhow, that was it. I was actually going back to Jersey on vacation when I got the call about this, and it was governor happens to be an ex-Navy guy, and I'd always had a kind of an interest and I had been asked if I had any political aspirations before, but I was raising kids and everything else. So, and I was pretty happy in that world. Did a lot of work between public and private partnerships, and I think that's the best of both. When the community gets together with the government and you can figure it out. So it was a easy decision in some ways. It was a fast decision in others. And so I think I've been in the seat about 6 weeks.
Doing a good job so far.
Well, I'll let all
We
of
have
you.
we have our eye on you, though.
I'll let all of you be the judge of that. So it's been a pleasant surprise, and this is part of the nicest part of it is to meet the people in the community.
Mr. Sandelli works with Stan Stouter, for those of you who know Stan, who lives at the north end of the island, which is, he's been a great friend to the beach for many, many years. So, well, we're very happy to have you here, Commissioner.
I hope I didn't bore you with that. I just
No,
wanted to give
no,
a little bit
no,
of
no.
background.
It's always nice to get to know somebody personally, and that always is a good, for me at least, a good starting place to work together. So what I'd like to do now is just go by person by person at the dais, council member by council member, and they're going to just bring up to you either something they've been working on or collectively. These are all policy decisions we've made. You're not getting a particular point of view. These are things the town has been working on. I'm going to start with you, Joanne.
Joanne Champ, and it's a pleasure to get the opportunity to speak to you. I like that word economic platform that you used, and you are sitting in the town that's the #1 heads and beds TDC income. So we work cooperatively with everybody around, and we're aware that we are the host to Lee County, the biggest host to Lee County. So we are trying to fix up. We really appreciate that the county is doing the boulevard. It's boulevard through our community, and it hasn't been perfect, but we're loving the results, and you're going to get to ride down it today. But one of the things you'll find, you probably came over the Blue Bridge today. I'm not sure if you came over the Blue Bridge. But as you come over the Blue Bridge, you have that fantastic view, and then you land, and it's not so gorgeous. And the first time in the 22-year history of the town and the county all own the land at the bottom of the bridge right now, and we can do something about the entryway. The town just acquired the one puzzle piece. The county previously acquired Crescent Beach on the beach side and the Seafarers parcel on the bay side. I sent you this in the email yesterday, so you've got notes from me already. So we have the...
I looked at
Yeah, I actually, sent him the thing. And so Commissioner Kiker and Town Manager Hernstadt and myself have been working with the commissioner before he came ill on the plan for the entryway there. And I sent you the survey too, so you can see the little piece that we own now, the pieces that you own, that the county owns. And They're essential for traffic mitigation, for bicycle pedestrian safety, for the trolley and tram arrivals, so we can bring less cars onto the island and use the Pine Ridge facility. And we also need a good welcoming feature in that area. So I listed those. This was in our comp plan that we want to do it. And what has happened with this is that a preliminary design was done. We met with the commissioner. He had the preliminary design, then an alternative design was done with some improvements, and then frankly the commissioner became ill and we're stalled. This has to be, the timeliness of this is important. It's a perfect time because you're doing the boulevard and we all have the properties ready to go. So if the boulevard's going to be done, when it's going to be done and they want to do this last, we have to have these designs approved and in place so they can indeed do it, and so the boulevard can be done all at once. So I guess what we're saying is we want to move forward with this. The county was reviewing this design, maybe reviewing it with FDOT, and we've just sort of been waiting to have our next meeting. And we would like to do that. Well, yes, the state owns, Anita will point it to you.
I was going to show you this when we were on the road because it's so interesting that in this one, so this, imagine you're coming over the the Sky Bridge, right through here, and I can't tell you right where which line is, but you have county, state, and town. And so what Joanne's saying is that all those agencies are collaborative on this project.
But the good thing is, we have them all now.
Yes.
They're
And
all
FDOT has been
publicly
doing
owned now.
projects.
Trying to get a feel for who had a stake in this, from.
Everyone.
Okay.
Everyone.
Thanks.
So I think that's it. You understand, you'll see it today, and.
I received this yesterday afternoon, took a look at it last night, and
Great. So thank you very much. That's timely for us. The other thing you mentioned was you enjoy flying. We all love flying, and RSW serves this economic platform so strongly. But changes were made when the runway went in, which is 6 this way, 24 coming the other way. And some changes were made in routing where almost 75–80% of all flights come over our island now, and we're very low. We've made some progress. We worked with the former FAA director. We worked with the former director of transportation, Dennis Roberts. We're currently having another meeting, which you were invited to, October 21st at 1:30 in the afternoon here with the current FAA Southeast director, Michael O'Hara. And we're still working on this. We have a very active air group, and they've actually tracked 50,000 flights. So we know our data, we know what we're asking, and we're not asking to harm other communities around us. We have discussions that we're having with him that are equitable and fair and actually relieve a lot of the burden. So that conversation is ongoing and it's important, and because you as commissioner are on the Port Authority as well, Mr. Commissioner Kiker would attend, and therefore you have been invited as well. Basically, we want to reduce the overall number. They've done that with some rerouting on the Back Bay, require them to fly over 3,000 feet, which doesn't seem to be that difficult. One of the flight planes is that way, the other isn't, and commit to making runway 24 the takeoff at night and using it at night, because we have planes coming over here low at 5 a.m. in the morning. We actually wake up with dreams of things because of the noise and the shaking of our homes. And we're almost 12 miles out from the runway. They can be at 3,000 feet. So that's the quick story. And
quick question on the discussions that you've had. You've got Pagefield, you have Punta Gorda, you have Fort Lauderdale.
Naples.
And it was pretty easy when I was flying off a ship. You just had the ship out there.
We get one of those?
Huh? Well, you don't want me landing on the ship anymore. But I guess my question was, what discussions, it's not easy. I mean, the concentration is obviously how it affects you here. But flight patterns overlap, how they bring aircraft in, where they route, how that affects other airports. Was that part of the discussion at all?
Actually, it is, and the 3,000 feet is not actually part of the problem. The Naples and all that air traffic, it's okay. The real issue, of course, is the way the prevailing winds come, that they use the runway that direction. But what they did was they moved the turning, the release, it's so technical, but they moved the release from the airport way out over the Gulf. and then that brings almost everybody across to us, when in fact, when you come 24, the release is shorter. They can safely release them sooner. They're starting to do that over the Back Bay, and that's improving it, but we have to elevate too. So it gets pretty technical. I have a thing about this thick I can share with you if you
Question, though,
want.
was when you had those discussions, did they talk about flight patterns from the other adjoining airports, whether it's Punta Gorda or Page Field or Fort Lauderdale?
Yes, because we do
And I
have
don't know that
ATC,
part.
we do have air traffic
Okay.
control here as well.
Okay.
And the other interesting thing that maybe people don't know is at night, air traffic control by 10 or 11 o'clock is off at RSW, and all air traffic is from Miami. They control from Miami all night until early morning here, and they have so much traffic there that I'm not sure
'Cause
that.
everybody's up in Miami all night.
Yes.
There are those of us who are up
I'm
here,
not sure
too.
that the folks in Miami understand our concern as well as we would like, so.
If you can come to that meeting, Commissioner, on the 21st,
Okay.
I think you especially, would find it extraordinarily interesting. Yes,
And I
sir.
can give you more in-depth background if you care. Just let me know. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. Roxanne, would you like to go
I'd
next?
like to defer to Bruce.
Okay, we'll move on to Bruce. Bruce is going to talk about the boulevard and lighting. And
Yeah.
Bruce, where did you fly in from? Bruce is a traveler.
Sacramento to Atlanta, and I spent an extra 7 hours in Atlanta.
Nice.
They had thunderstorms. We got in at 5 a.m. Tuesday or Wednesday morning instead of 8 o'clock the night before.
Nice to have you back, Bruce.
Thanks. The reason I'm sitting here, the reason I got involved in, it's not working.
No, it's a bad one.
How about this one? Does this one work?
Better, much
No
better.
Okay. The reason I'm sitting here, the reason I ran for town council and got involved in government initially was because of Estero Boulevard. And I was outraged when I moved my front door. I was outraged when I moved down here and drove off the island for the first time in season, and it took 2 hours. And I got in a habit of timing the traffic, the speed, counting cars, standing and watching. And it was just unbelievable. I never saw anything like it. And I used to live in Los Angeles area and have traveled around the world and all the big cities. And I never did it take me so long to go so short of a distance as it does on Fort Myers Beach in season. And then it was dangerous at night because you couldn't see people. And people on vacation are just walking around wherever they feel like it. And it was just a mess. So I got involved in the Public Safety Committee when Larry Kiker was mayor here. And one thing led to another, and here I am. So Estero Boulevard was my passion, and I was thrilled when the county decided to improve the road. And I came to the meetings, and when they announced it here in the chamber, that's what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. And I asked a simple question of, well, what are you going to do about improving the traffic flow? And they said, nothing. And I was dumbfounded. And I don't know if Kay, I remember I called her up when they were getting ready to have the presentation. And this was, I don't know, 7 years ago or something. And I asked her, I said, what are they going to do about the traffic flow? And the answer was nothing. And she, anyhow, not Kay's fault, but the problem was we're constrained with real estate here. So the right-of-way is a problem. But we have what we have. And what the county is doing is a great improvement, because before we didn't have sidewalks on both sides of the streets. And the sidewalks we had were not really that good anyhow, where they were. So the county is really improving the look of the boulevard beautifully in some regards in terms of pavement and sidewalks. But what we're missing is a plan for landscaping and true beautification of the boulevard. The other area that we're still lacking is a lighting plan. And again, when I was on a safety council meeting or public safety committee some years ago, we even brought temporary lights to try to find different ways to light up the crosswalks and learn about crosswalk lighting and things. And that's been many, many years. The county has, through the MPO, started a lighting study. And the first study has basically been rejected because it wasn't done very well. So I think the final result is coming out shortly. So it's one thing to have a good study and an engineering understanding of what needs to be done. Then that's great to have in your pocket, but it doesn't help us till it's implemented in getting the proper lighting that we need here for the crosswalks and traffic. Florida Power and Light provides the current lighting, and it's
Inadequate.
yeah, that's a good word. And then you have the issue with turtles that have to be considered too when you do lighting, and so it gets a little complicated. But that's a big thing for us, is getting support for a proper lighting system. As I mentioned, the other thing with the boulevard is the landscaping. As you'll see today when you go down the boulevard, we have sidewalks and then a little green strip and then the street itself. And the green strip has some sod in it now, which was put there really for a safety device so that people didn't fall off the sidewalk into the depression. But we need a plan to make this a very welcoming and beautiful boulevard. The other thing that has to do with the boulevard that I think is is real important is the bus stops. So the trolley system that the county provides is very much utilized, but because of the traffic flow problems, you stand for a long time waiting for the trolley. The county has upgraded the software system for the trolley system now so that you have an idea when it might be coming, because a schedule is just a reminder of what ought to be, because they can't keep the schedule because of the traffic situation.
There's actually an app, but it
Yeah.
doesn't function because of the time constraints.
Yeah. So people end up standing in the hot sun or the pouring rain, generally without any shelter. And that gets complicated too because of the right-of-ways. We understand that. But where we do have the immediate right-of-way, we ought to have good bus shelters to encourage people to use the trolley and help with the congestion of the traffic. Then we think, some of us think there's other ways to improve the flow of traffic with the trolley system. I won't get into those details today. My notes keep disappearing into the cloud. The bus shelters, landscaping, traffic. I'll just mention one other thing, so we'll let you get out of here and see for yourself. But I'm sure in your travels around the world and in Florida, you've been on many piers, seen the piers on the beaches. And I think our pier is inferior, the one here on Fort Myers Beach. If you go down to Naples, that pier is, I don't know how wide it is, but it's probably from me to Joanne at least wide. Our pier is 8 feet wide.
Which is narrower than these sidewalks that we've installed.
And if you have a family, if you're pushing a baby buggy, you cannot walk side by side. You have to walk single file if there's people coming. And it's a shame, because I understand, or I've been told, that the pier is the #1 visited place in Lee County, that more people go visit the pier than anywhere else. And it's not a bad pier in terms of maintenance and everything, and when you get out to the end of the pier, it's pretty spacious. But the walkway out there is very constrained. And
I was
I
out there
think
2 weeks ago.
Were you?
Yeah, I came down to do a podcast.
Ah.
And then I took a walk out in the pier.
Oh.
And stuff like that, so.
So you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, up in New Jersey, where we go every summer, we had a great pier there. unfortunately, due to the storms, it was just a bunch of pilings, and finally those are even gone. So, but you miss it. I've got some great pictures of it in various states of decay. But no, it's a great attraction. Once you can get out over the water, it's always fun.
So what beach are you at in New Jersey?
Ocean City,
Oh,
South Atlantic City, north of Cape May.
okay. My son lived in Bradley, my middle son lived in Bradley Beach for a while, so we went up there quite a bit. Yeah, it is. Well, that's all I'll take up the time for today.
Thank you very much.
May I interject? We're still in the downtown area, and I missed one really important point in mine. When I talked about, the county has the pier, the county has Lynn Hall Park, they have Crescent Beach Park, you'll see them all today and be more familiarized with them. But they have the seafarers across the way, they bought at the same time as Crescent. And when Commissioner Kiker was then mayor of the town, he sent letters, subsequent mayors have sent letters, we've been talking. When seafarers is intended to be used for the traffic solution, when the traffic solution is done, there's going to be some little, almost useless fragments left, and the town would like control of those then. Because there's no use for the county when the traffic is done. We'd like to be able to maintain and control those fragments on the bay side. You can see it from the surveys, you can see it from the design. I just throw that, I put it on the list I sent to you, but I neglected to mention it, and it's very important. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne. I want to touch on one other issue of the pier, just since we're talking about the pier. Commissioner, I don't know when the first time you ever came to Fort Myers Beach was, but there are many of us who were here as kids, and Ray and I actually were here when the county CRA project that then the town of Fort Myers Beach, upon incorporation, took over was, this is back in the day when the county liked CRAs. We created the Times Square pedestrian area where you were doing that podcast the other day. But prior to that, and even now, that pier entryway was a beach access. It is the #1 beach access in Lee County. Forget about Fort Myers Beach. More people traverse that zone to get to the beach than any place else in our county. I guess it was a couple of years back now that we approached the TDC looking for funding in our project to rehab that entrance to the pier and to the beach, which is a county facility, but it's where the town and the county meets. And we got a legal opinion that it wasn't a beach access. But if that's not a beach access, I don't know what is, because it, like I don't know who said it, it is the #1 visited location in Southwest Florida, #1. So I'd just like you to kind of put that in your head as you were there in Times Square, you took a walk out there, and if you could watch the pattern of people, and you'll see them today as we travel, the pattern of access to Fort Myers Beach, the #1 location people shoot for is right there. So put an asterisk by that.
A lot of asterisks here.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. You've got space still. Go ahead, Ray.
So I bought my own book.
Welcome to the beach, Commissioner. You can put your pen down for a while. There's not going to be anything noteworthy here.
But I can remember his name.
That's it. That's it. This is actually the second time the Commissioner and I have met. First time was when Jackie and the Chamber execs had a meeting in Fort Myers, and several of the local elected officials were there, and I was lucky to be there and got to meet Ray that day as well. We have a lot in common, it seems. We were both named after a great saint, Saint Raymond. We both grew up in the Garden State of New Jersey. It turns out Ray was just a few towns over from me in New Jersey. He was in Morristown and I was in Summit. And he's Italian, and I'm not. Irish. We're close enough, all right?
I'll tell you a quick story. After one of the zoning meetings we had, there was a woman there who was fairly animated, and she came up, she says, "Mr. Commissioner, you need to pay attention to me." And so when we took a break, I could see her coming towards me. And I said, "Trust me, I listened to every word you said, and you were fairly animated." She goes, "Well," she goes, I'm half Italian and half Irish." And I said, well, maybe that explains it. And so I said I had two uncles in our Italian family, Eddie Dorn and Bill Kelly. And I said, they're great, and unfortunately they're gone, and stuff like that. I said, but my youngest daughter just came home with the guy that I think is going to be the right one. Guess what his name is? She goes, what? I said, Kelly. She goes, wait, there you go. It's all connected. So.
We used to call that garlic and Gaelic. Anyhow,
Write down.
in my
You could give that an asterisk too, right?
my father, although he was not a bricklayer, his father was. He laid a lot of brick in his day, and my father did not, and then his sons did not. Although I built a few stone walls in my day, and I can remember my grandfather when he was about 102 years old shaking my hand, and he said to me, "You know, Raymond, you've got rough hands." He says, "I know it ain't from working," but anyhow, that's a little bit, and we're also in the real estate business. We have that in common as well. We've been in the commercial real estate business down here for years, and also up in New Jersey, and among other things, and so I know the language, and I was fortunate enough when the town incorporated. We incorporated here over a real estate issue. You know, it was a development issue and a very hotly contested case here. Most people in this room could tell you about it. And I was honored to be elected at that time, and really I was the only one who had a real estate background, and I was bringing that forward, and I was happy to contribute then, and then served 2 terms with my good friend here, Anita, and retired, and I was done, and happy to be done for 20 some odd years, and then last summer hit, you know, with the water issue, and I know of your passion for being around water, and I share that passion. I've been around these waters here since I was before I was 10 years old. We've been down here, and so I've been fishing in these waters since not too long after I could walk. So it meant a lot to me what was happening that summer, and that's what convinced me that I wanted to get back involved and lend my voice to the problems that were going on with the water. So that's really one of my big issues is to keep the pressure up on all the authorities. And I know you were appointed by Governor DeSantis, and he made an excellent choice. And Governor DeSantis has shown us so far his leadership on this matter, and we're thrilled with everything that he's done so far. We're absolutely thrilled, and the direction he's taken with the South Florida Water Management District and putting Chauncey Goss on there and all of these other great choices. We're thrilled with the direction they've taken. We're thrilled with the Army Corps of Engineers. Not that the prior colonel, she was fine, but this new guy, he's got it. He's got it, you know. And we're thrilled with Kevin Ruane and Brian Mast over on the East Coast. You know, these are all coming together now. But we want to keep it going. We want to keep it going. And we do everything that we can do down here on the local level to make our contributions. We really can't do much about what goes up in Lake Okeechobee. That's kind of out of our purview. But we can do everything we can down here on Fort Myers Beach, and we have over the years. Right after we were incorporated, we set up this Marine Resources Task Force, which was committed and directed specifically to monitor the water quality of Estero Bay, which is the state's first aquatic preserve, Estero Bay Aquatic Preserve, the first one in the state of Florida to receive that designation. So that was their charge, and they've been doing that over the years, and since then they've sprouted out and taken other things under their wings, but that was really their charge. So we did that, and then we've done other things. You know, we've tried to get involved. We've passed fertilizer ordinances and so forth, and we're very conscious, with the bay being our backyard, of what goes into it. So, but we can't do that alone. You know, we need help with that. And just recently, we tried to pass this glyphosate ban. You've probably heard of this. That's what Roundup is, you know, and the lawyers are all over TV about suing the people and so forth. But although we feel for those people, our concern really is the water, where that goes into. They spray those yards, it rains, it goes right into our bay. Not to mention all these guys that are applying it, you know, all these landscapers and so forth. God knows what's happening to them, you know. But we're concerned about what goes into the water. And we tried to pass an ordinance to ban that here, and we were thwarted by the state of Florida, who preempted us because they have a statute in place that says they're in charge of that. That's fine. That's fine. If they want to be in charge, they can be in charge. But let us do what we have to do down here. Say that we're permitted to regulate our water down here, because if you're not going to do it, somebody has to do it. And we're here, and we're ready, willing, and able to do it. So my request to you today is, in your travels with, and you've been on a whirlwind now. I know you have, since you've been appointed, and that whirlwind will continue for a while. But during your travels, when you meet these various people, these particularly these state representatives, you know, they have to get the message that the local people on the water, the ones that are there day in and day out, they need to have a say about what's going on with their water. You know, I envisioned when we had this ban going that you know, Naples would, and actually Naples is very well along this same path. They want to do the same thing. You know, and Bonita would do it, you guys would do it, and Cape Coral would do it, and Marco Island. I mean, we could go right up and down the whole coast, you know. But why should we have to do that? Why not just let the state, you know, do it by decree, by statute, and then there it is, you know. But so we're being thwarted right now by the state. So every little bit of help we can get from the various officials, we'll take. We'll
Have you
take.
happened, I was with Phil Flood yesterday, and have you ever seen his presentation
No, I don't think I have.
On glyphosate?
on the state from when we became a state?
Oh,
to the
gosh,
war?
yes, it's fantastic.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
Do yourself a favor and go through that, because it was an education. We spent 2 hours yesterday, and he took me from
Primitive Florida
when we
to
started,
now,
you know, to everything and the work that's being done, and it's fascinating.
Great.
I think one of the issues that you didn't touch on is that, and the state has made a huge commitment financially. It's the federal government that owes us a substantial amount of money, and I'm hoping that we can bridge that gap also, because almost everything we do comes to funding. So that's one aspect. And I'm actually going to go out with Phil. I want to go out and see it and touch it and feel it and stuff. So we're going out and doing a road trip, and if you want to go with us,
I'd love to.
I'll let him know.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And the second thing, though, is I do think that how things get done, I touched on it before, is when you do have an alignment. When you have an alignment from, I always try to think macro to micro. I need to understand the big picture, and then I can work down to some of the details. I think when you have an alignment, we'll never always agree on everything. But when you got everybody pulling in the same direction, the boat goes in the right direction. When you got a few spurious oars, then you start going around in circles. And I think it's always hard to get people that are off on their own agenda to get back to where we can do effective something.
Well, I don't think there's been a more unifying issue in the state of Florida since I can remember as a child.
Yep.
As this water issue.
Yep.
I've never seen the state come together like this, and it's not just us. It's up on the Panhandle. It's up in the Northeast Coast. It's everywhere in the
I
state
think
of Florida.
people understand that this affects us all, personally, professionally, economically, and
Exactly.
you know, 9/11 wasn't too long ago, and we came together there in adversity. I think we can do the same thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thanks, Ray.
So I'll let that go at that, and then there's one more minor issue. We have a bridge down on the south end of the island that I'm going to show you later on. The one you came over this morning, coming up here at Big Carl's Pass. It seems that before you were on the commission, that the commissioners decided that that bridge needs replacing, and they've decided to put a large high span on there, and it's been it was by a unanimous vote of the prior town council that they did not want that high span. They wanted the lower span. Also, all of the residents down there, they don't want that either. But anyhow, I want to bring you down there later on, Commissioner, and take a look at that, and we'll talk about that a little bit further.
That'll be the end of your trip, the south end. Roxanne? Thanks, Ray.
I asked to be deferred to the end because I had some idea of what other people might be talking about based on their past interests and things they'd been involved in. And I wanted to go last because I wanted to talk to you about something we haven't been working on, but I'd like to work on with you in the future. And just to give you a little history, our town is fairly young, 22 years old. And not long after the town was incorporated, Lee County gifted to us the Bay Oaks Recreation Center. It was a county facility. And it wasn't in particularly good shape when we got it, and needs a lot of help. And the town has recently committed to making vast improvements with that facility. And you might say to me, well, why should the county be helping with that or discussing that with you? Because it's yours. The comparison I will make with this, the village of Estero incorporated in 2014. The village of Estero has a 55-acre recreation facility, 4 buildings, bocce courts, disc golf, et cetera, et cetera. From what I could learn from the websites, it is supported entirely by the county. It may be that Estero contributes something to it, but the county entirely maintains that huge recreation center for those folks. So there's a little inequity that appears to be going on here. Now, I'm not saying that I want the county to take it back. That's not where I'm going with this. What I'm saying is we have made a commitment that this is an important thing for our town to have, and we are committed to improving it, but we believe that the county should be working with us and helping us in this big project that we're going to be undertaking. And I won't go into a lot of detail about that because this is a future thing, but I wanted to put it on your radar that we'd like to be discussing your help with that project for our citizens. Thank you.
You know, I was sitting here thinking how impressed I am with my people here. This is really a very nice introduction to you to get a sense of some major issues. What Roxanne was just talking about, our Bay Oaks Rec Center, though it's ours, it continues to function as a regional facility. And it's that regional use that impacts Fort Myers Beach. So just earlier this week, I had the good fortune to be speaking with the other mayors downtown Fort Myers, and the question asked to each of us was, what is the most difficult, what is the greatest challenge you face in your cities? And my answer was impact, because, you know, Fort Myers Beach is a place that everybody takes ownership in. I asked everyone in the room to raise their hands if they'd been to the island. Everybody raised their hands, and I said, and you probably came with some, you know, a lunch or whatever and spent the day, and I said, but by the time you've left, you have impacted our town, and we are left with doing something with it, whether it's trash, whether it's water use, whatever. And we're very glad to do that. We're a very welcoming community. But our residents of 7,000 more or less deal with our population swelling to almost 60,000 people in March. Little by little by little, the pot fills. And those impacts create a dynamic crunch for our government, because I gave the example again the other day that of my almost $4,000 tax bill, only $222 will go to the town of Fort Myers Beach. The rest goes to our library, our fire district, our county, and different agencies. The town of Fort Myers Beach operates in a very frugal manner to the best of our ability, but we are impacted so dramatically by being everyone's place that what Roger touched on, what Roxanne, I mean, everybody's kind of touched on. We are happy to invite everyone to the party. We'd just like a little help every now and then to help us with those impacts. And Commissioner, I know I'm partial, but Fort Myers Beach is a place where you can, if somebody in this room right now tells you they've got your back, you can take it to the bank. This community is filled with extraordinary people, lots of very affluent retired CEOs that you wouldn't recognize if they walked in the door because they might look a little homeless on any given day. But it's because, we're the laid-back island, too. And
Isn't that all our goal?
yeah, that's right.
Have a few bucks in the bank and look
That's right.
homeless, I mean, it's just,
But
we're all moving in the same direction.
what I'd like you to
Some
take
have clean shirts on, though.
That's right. What I'd like you to take away from our town today is that, as Joanne said, we contribute more to the tourist dollars in the county than any other community, and I believe with the next few years, as projects like Margaritaville come online, as the road continues, and you'll see the dynamic of the island, how it's changing. I think that number will be even more substantial. And again, we are happy to host everyone. We'd just like for that to be acknowledged every once in a while, that especially when we have a regional park facility or air issues or lighting or landscaping or water, that even though we may be the smallest municipality in your jurisdiction, we are pretty mighty. And I'd just like, on behalf of everyone, to thank you for being here, to tell you that we are here to help you in anything you could possibly need. And with that, I'm going to ask anybody if they have anything else to say. If they don't, I'll adjourn our meeting, let you kind of mingle for a few minutes. I know you needed to make a phone call, I believe, to somebody, okay? And then we'll, let's say in 15, 20 minutes, we'll take off on a little road tour and give you a broader sense of the area that Joanne was talking about. We'll zip around Bay Oaks, and then Vice Mayor will take you on the second half, which is you'll see the road project in action. Kay Molnar, who you haven't had a chance to meet yet, and I don't know if you already knew her. Kay is our person for all contact with, she's your county liaison and our town liaison for our water project, our stormwater project, and the road project. And I think she's going to go on a bit of the ride.
If I may,
Go
Kay
ahead,
Molnar
Kay.
for the record, but if I may, since I get beat up so often, I did want to come to you today and tell you that Publix is open.
Hey, that's great news.
As of last night, Publix driveway is completely open, the crossover, and we finally have completed most of the paving, or most all of the paving. We'll just be doing some punch list items for segment 2. So from down at the Crescent Street area to Strandview Avenue, we finally have that part of the boulevard completed. Again, you will still see some people working in that segment 2 area because of all the traffic that was on the pavers. We will be resetting pavers, little by little in those areas, but there will not be, any type of closures or anything like that. And there should be no more night paving for a while. So I know that's disruptive because folks are wanting to sleep, and we really gave those people at Lover's Lane a tough run. The rain didn't help us, but anyway, I did want to come and meet you, and I'll leave you with a couple of my cards and would like to talk to you about it. And we also have the refreshfmbeach.com website, which we have completely revamped. We did the best we could to accommodate the request from Councilman Butcher. We've got some circles on there that kind of give you an idea of how much of each part of the project, the utilities and the roadway, those items are completed. So we continue to update that on a regular basis and put the weekly emails out.
We're going to give you a 30,000 foot high flyover view of that today, but then
30,000 is okay, we just don't want to get down to 3,000, right?
no, we don't. What
Not
we don't
below
like it is at
3,000.
500. Lord, one day I'm in my pool and I swear I thought we were being invaded. This plane came in. I could see people's faces. I'm a little dramatic, Ray, if you haven't gotten that, but
What was the one word you said?
I'm not saying. Anyhow.
Is she dramatic?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
But don't mistake that for anything. Anyhow, So Kay will be, of course, at your disposal for other issues, and maybe at some point again in the future, we can talk more about all the road projects, so. Okay, if nobody has anything else, I'll adjourn our meeting, and you guys can visit. Oh, Joanne, did you want to say
I
something?
just wanted to say, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much, Mr. Sandelli, for listening today and for working with us. We just all appreciate it.
The only thing I
so
can
much.
ask is that this has all been relatively fast and new to me, so I welcome the input, whatever it may be. Just be a little bit patient as I try to spool up on all these things.
Commissioner, when you're here, you're on island time, and we can be very patient, but we also like to get things done, and we're in that mode right now of getting things done. So we're here to help you. We're here to help you. Yes, sir. Okay, it is 10:02, and our meeting's adjourned, but please feel free to stay and visit for just a bit, and then we'll go on our road trip. And thank you guys for taking your time this morning to come here. Thanks.
Yes, thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's yours.